Perhaps you're going to make some aminonitroguanidine, the good stuff. Maybe you're going to invent cruise missiles like a Chad and bomb your neighbors across the channel. I don't know what your use case is. You may need some hydrazine. A lot of people aren't familiar with hydrazine, so maybe we should familiarize you with it. Let's watch this video right here.
The F-16 is one of the most maneuverable fighters ever built.
F-16.
Its single-engine design requires a backup electric and hydraulic power system. This emergency power unit, or EPU, uses hydrazine fuel to operate.
Hydrazine.
This program covers general hydrazine fuel awareness.
This is what we need to know.
You'll learn how to identify and report hydrazine spills.
You gotta report them.
We'll also discuss hydrazine exposure and health effects. Warning. If you are not part of the emergency response team, do not attempt to clean up.
All right, guys, good. We're getting this all cleaned up. My sergeant said I don't need any protective gear because my GT score is so high. It's 85.
In fact, ammonia is one of the byproducts of decomposed hydrazine.
Oh, I'm gonna die, aren't I? Yeah, so ammonia gets compared to hydrazine a lot. It's not exactly apples to apples. They're both pnictogens. Ammonia is a trihydride, but hydrazine is a tetrahydride pnictogen. Ammonia looks like a tripod in its formation, whereas hydrazine looks like a sawhorse. They do have some, reactive similarity, but hydrazine is more reactive than ammonia. It's also much more toxic. The permissible concentration levels of exposure to hydrazine, the PCLs, are like 0.01 ppm. But the detectable odor threshold for a human nose is somewhere around 2 to 3 ppm. The smell is more like a fishy smell versus, an ammonia smell. But if you are smelling it, you're already being overexposed to hydrazine to unsafe levels. All that being said, I don't want to be, Ned Flanders safety guy here on the hydrazine. It's a necessary evil that we have to produce in the lab from time to time. You're not going to be doing any crazy interjects without hydrazine. It's used in a lot. I use it for aminonitroguanidine. It's absolutely necessary in that. It's also necessary if you're going to be playing with azide. Nickel hydrazine nitrate is a popular primary explosive. It's not my go-to choice of primary, but it is pretty simple to make. It's inorganic. It's going to require hydrazine. Suffice it to say, there are a lot of uses of hydrazine. It's important to know how to make it. So is it toxic? Yes, of course, it is absolutely toxic. The primary way that hydrazine is toxic is through ingestion. So if you're doing keg stands or something with hydrazine, you're going to have a bad day. Okay, you're probably going to go through liver failure and kidney failure, among other things. It's acutely toxic. It's going to kill you really quickly. It's got some dermal toxicity, so you want to keep it off your skin. It's got inhalation, vapor toxicity, so you don't want to be breathing in hydrazine fumes at all. I have probably, in my time, had way too much exposure to hydrazine. I'm still here as of right now. Might get me eventually. You just want to be cautious when you're making hydrazine to limit your exposure. So this is a reaction that really should be done outside if you don't have any equipment or experience, or in my case, it's going mostly out the door. Some of it's going up my nostrils, but mostly out the door. So my procedure that I use, I've tried most of the procedures shown on YouTube. I am not quite satisfied with those, so I have been using for several years now small-scale synthesis of laboratory reagents with reaction modeling from Leonard Lerner. This is a fantastic book. It's somewhat available online if you can find it as a PDF. Okay, we are not going to get deep down in the weeds on the nitty-gritty details of hydrazine production. This is not a chemistry channel, okay? This is a cool channel. Despite lots of videos on the topic of chemistry, that's not what we're doing. This is just preliminary stuff to get out there. Just for all your guerrilla warfare needs, World War III that's coming up, all that stuff. Hoffman degradation of urea. This is an old process that's been around for a long time. This is going to give you a yield of 62% hydrazine sulfate, which is actually we're extracting it as the sulfate form because it's much safer than the hydrated liquid form. IC analysis on this procedure, Lerner's got that in here. So he's got 95% hydrazine sulfate as a product, and he's got contamination of only 3% sodium chloride and 2% sodium sulfate. So that's very excellent for an analysis workup of a procedure. This is a very desirable procedure that's much better than a lot of the stuff that's floating around online. So that's why we're using this. Woo! You probably clicked off the video by now because this is getting kind of boring, but let's continue on. So the things that you're going to need to produce hydrazine with Hoffman degradation is you're going to need urea, gelatin, bleach, sodium hydroxide, and water, and a metric ton of ice. You're going to use a lot of ice in this process. Now for bleach concentrations, you can use any concentration of bleach. The general rule here is that the more concentrated your bleach is, the more foam that you'll get out of the reaction that needs to be contained. So you need to have a vessel with plenty of headroom to contain foam that's going to come off of it. You have 2 points in this reaction where foam is going to rise out. You can very easily spill over the sides, so make sure you have a plan for cleanup. You can use concentrated hypochlorite to clean up hydrazine spills to treat it. So like calcium hypochlorite, concentrated liquid solution, you can use that. If you use standard bleaches, like I don't know what they have in the store, 4.5%, 5% to 7%, something like that, your volume of liquid, because you have a lot more water in there, your volume of your reaction is going to be greater. So you're going to have less potential maximum yield of how much you can produce in a batch. If you use highly concentrated bleach, like 11 to 12%, you're going to get a lot more product out of each batch, but it's going to be a more intensive reaction. Now what I'm going to be doing in this video is 2 procedures. One of them is going to be a single batch method from the book, and then I'm going to double it. We're going to scale up to a double batch, and that's what you're going to see. So you're going to see 2 different vessel sizes. The single batch uses a 1 liter vessel. The double batch uses a 2 liter vessel. I should warn you that if you do a double batch with a 2 liter, you're going to be very, very close to the brim in terms of foaming unless you have excellent temperature control. So this thing can easily get out of hand, so be prepared for spills if you do that. So for reference, just up front, just to get this out of the way, here are the quantities of material used from the book. So that's what you're seeing right here for your reference. These are the quantities that I'm using in the video. The reason that they're different is because I'm using a different concentration of bleach. So I'm using a 12.5%. That's available in my hardware store. Lerner is using 11.5% sodium hypochlorite bleach. And so I had to adjust the concentration for the quantities used here. The double batch method that you're going to see in the video is just simply ×2 of the single batch on everything. So the first secret of hydrazine is that you want to have a very clean prep order and understand what's going on. The first thing that you need to do is cool everything. So you need to be cooling hydrochloric acid, you need to be cooling sulfuric acid in a freezer, get them nice and cold, and then you're going to need to prepare 2 solutions. So the first solution that you're going to prepare is going to be urea with gelatin. The gelatin is just gelatin like they have in the grocery store for food. Gelatin is used to catch metal ions, stray metal ions. This reaction is extremely sensitive to metal ions. It'll degrade your yield pretty considerably. So we put gelatin in there. So first solution is gelatin and urea and water. If you use powdered urea, it's easier than using prills like in the video. And adding urea to water is endothermic, so it produces, it's cool. And so you have to typically apply heat in order to get the urea to dissolve into solution. So you first make your urea solution, you're gonna heat it a little bit to get the urea dissolved, and then you have to cool it. You're gonna cool it down to somewhere around 8C. Now you have your second solution. This is gonna be your bleach solution, your hypochlorite solution. You take your calculated amount of bleach, you pour that and set it off to the side. Now you're going to take some water, put it into a vessel, and you're going to add sodium hydroxide. Sodium hydroxide, if you're not aware of this, is really hazardous. You want to be wearing eye protection, all that stuff, if you're not familiar with it. Protect yourself from sodium hydroxide, okay? But you're going to add it to the water. The reason that we add the sodium hydroxide to water is because this is extremely exothermic. It's going to get extremely hot. You want to get all that exothermic energy out before you put the hydroxide anywhere near the bleach. When bleach gets hot, it fumes off a lot. It's no good. So we take all the heat out by reacting it with water. The hydroxide puts off all of its heat, and then we're going to put in our sodium hypochlorite, mix it all together, and we need to chill it. So this needs to go down somewhere. The maximum temperature that the hypochlorite solution should be is 10C. But the cooler it is, the faster your additions can go when you do this, which saves time. You really want to be down to somewhere around -10, something like that. Okay, so we're dropping in the bleach solution into the urea solution. We're producing hydrazine. During this time, you're going to experience some foaming. It's going to be pretty minimal, but you will see that. While this is all going on, you want to prepare a hot water bath. A heated vessel, water somewhere around 80C. It should be on standby waiting, because once you finish your addition of hypochlorite into the urea, you want to immediately remove the vessel, put it on heat on this hot water bath. This is kind of the strange nature of efficient hydrazine production, is this time temperature curve. We're gonna be as cold as possible, now we're gonna heat as quickly as possible, and then later we're going to reduce again to cool temperatures as quickly as possible. Heat is necessary to complete the reaction, so when you drop in all of your bleach into the urea, you're going to have a yellow solution. As soon as it's all in, you want to get it on the heat and start raising the temperature. You've got a couple of checkpoints that you're going to see. The first one around 50 C, you're going to have a deepening of the color. This is unreacted hypochlorite, and you're going to drive the temperature all the way up to 72 C. That's the target range here. And the other checkpoint that you're going to see is foaming. During heating, especially once you get between 50 and 72 C, the reaction is going to take on its own exothermic reactive energy, and you're going to get a lot of foam coming out, so make sure that you have plenty of headroom on your vessel. As soon as we hit 72 C, it's now time to remove the reaction and plunge it onto ice. We're going to drop the temperature as quickly as possible. The way that I do it is I put it into an ice bath immediately, drop temperatures. Once you get past 50 C on the way down, you're going to see a clearing up of the color. That dark yellow color is going to kind of go away. It's going to become essentially colorless. When this happens, it's showing that the reaction is completing and you have all the hypochlorite reacted. So how I roll on the cooling, I drop it all the way down to 0 C. The reaction mixture, I drop it down to 0 C. This is going to make it a lot easier when we go to extract our sulfate using acids. Where we're at right now is we have chilled acids in the freezer. They're cold. We have both sulfuric acid and hydrochloric acid chilled, and we have a chilled hydrazine hydrate reaction solution in the reaction vessel, all cold. Right now, let's talk about extraction with the acids. So Lerner, his procedure, I'll show that here. This is the volumes. We have two solutions, two acidic solutions. We have one hydrochloric acid, which is just going to be at the native 32%. This is a hardware store. Hydrochloric acid, muriatic acid. Then you have another, an actual solution of water diluted sulfuric acid. If you're going to use dilution, it heats it up, so you're going to want to do that ahead of time and then cool it. For my use, I just use 85% sulfuric acid drain cleaner from the hardware store. I don't add any additional water. I just use it straight. Chilled drain cleaner, ready to go. And here's the proportions that I'm going to be using in the video. So the way that I'm going to add these is to use a dropping funnel for addition. So I'm going to put the vessel on stirring. The way that I do it, because I'm kind of doing the El Cheapo version here, is I just use saran wrap on the top, which kind of keeps in some of the fumage that's going to be coming off of this while you're salting out this hydrazine into the product. So I put saran wrap over the top of the vessel. I'm going to cut some holes in it, and I'm going to put all my thermometer, stirring rod, and my dropping funnel through some holes, and I'm going to start dropping in chilled hydrochloric acid. While dropping in hydrochloric acid, you want to keep your temperature below 10 C, so you don't want to exceed 10 C during HCl addition. When you're doing this part of the procedure, you're just automatically going to have some yield loss. You're going to get around 8% yield loss. It's going to be in the CO2 flux that comes off and some of the vapor that comes off. That's just the cost of doing business, but you want to keep it below 10 C in order to minimize that loss. So now all the HCl is in, and the reason that we're using HCl is because this takes up part of the salt load. So we're minimizing our sulfate products by doing this, trying to isolate simply hydrazine sulfate. That's why we're using HCl. Now we're going to take a solution of sulfuric acid, aka drain cleaner, that's been chilled. We're going to put this into the dropping funnel. We're going to begin dropping this. So when you're adding sulfuric acid, your maximum temperature should be around 25 C. So it's a little bit higher than the hydrochloric acid. You still want to stay as cool as possible, but you don't want to exceed 25 C. When sulfuric acid is added, you're going to get distinct hydrochloric acid fumes that are going to come off. You're just going to be smelling that. So you need to be using ventilation. There's going to be some hydrazine in there. Use ventilation, please. When you get to about 1/3 of the amount of sulfuric acid, you are going to start to get hydrazine volcano. Okay, so if you're not prepared for this, if you're not watching when you're dropping in your acid, this is going to get out of control. You're going to spill over the top of your vessel, and you're going to spill hydrazine everywhere. Keep the foaming under control. When you start to see a rise in the level of foam, stop addition, allow it to subside, and then turn on the acid again. You usually have to do this about 2 or 3 times. At some point, it's going to stop, and you won't get this crazy foam up. Immediately following the crazy foam hydrazine volcano period, you'll also begin seeing precipitation of the sulfate. Reaction mixture is going to start turning opaque and less clear, this is your hydrazine sulfate coming out of solution. So we're going to continue adding sulfuric acid until we're all the way through it, and the maximum temperature should be 25 C. By the end of addition, we're going to have a very opaque, thick, product of hydrazine sulfate crystals in solution. And at that point, we continue stirring for a half hour to ensure that everything has been reacted. The sulfuric acid amount that's quoted here is, this is in a 0.55 molar excess, and this serves to keep residual dissolved hydrazine sulfate in about the 1% range, in terms of loss. So this is highly desirable to use these proportions. This works great. We can now remove it and go over to filtration. At the filtration station, we're just going to suction filter hydrazine sulfate, pour it off. It's really nice crystals. They're still very acidic. They have a lot of acid on the surface. I like to do one filter, take it off and put it into a water bath, stir it around, filter it again, and then I like to wash it with alcohol. I use IPA, I wash it. Now it's pretty clean hydrazine. If you don't do a water wash, you're gonna have residual sulfuric acid, and particularly if you use any organic material like filter paper. If you don't remove it from the filter paper, it's going to carbonize and break apart, and then you're gonna get organic material contamination into your hydrazine sulfate. For that reason, I like to do the water wash and then alcohol wash, and then I like to just dump it out on glass to ensure that there's no organic material contamination. So you spread it out on glass. It's a heated pan. You want to dry somewhere around 100 C to drive off all the moisture and get a nice, clean, water-free hydrazine sulfate. That's what we're getting here. Final yield of the product off the single batch is going to be somewhere around 58 to 60 grams of hydrazine sulfate, which is 62% yield based on the hypochlorite. Okay, so this video is way too long. We're going to finish it up. I hope you enjoyed this. We got some more energetic materials that I'm going to cover next, but this is just kind of something that I need to reproduce hydrazine every few years. I'm doing it right now, so I figured why not do a video on it, show it, cover that, so you can add that to your little black book, okay, of procedures. I hope you enjoyed this. Thanks for watching.